Welcome to the Vision Profiles podcast. Join us, dedicated Apple Vision Pro users, as we dive into everything from hardware and software to apps and the latest updates in the world of Apple Vision Pro. I'm Marty Gensius, a faculty member at a Midwest University, a podcaster, and an Apple product fan.
And I'm Eric Bolden. I work in IT, but my interest is in finding interesting ways to share content. Currently, photography of plants, birds, waterfalls, and panoramic sequences.
And I am Dave Ginsburg, host of the, and I got thrown off there, host of the In Touch with iOS podcast. I am passionate about technology, especially Apple, and I use real world experience as a 27-year IT professional and iPhone subject matter expert. And I'm a newbie at Vision Pro.
So we've got our team assembled for tonight. And I didn't try real hard, but when I did try, I didn't find a lot of new articles out there about Vision Pro. There's some ancillary stuff that I found that we'll talk about later on in the show, individual little things, but nothing tremendous. There's not a. I mean, if you wanted to do something on the developer beta, I'm sure you could Google it, and somebody would have an explanation on how to do it on the developer beta. And I don't really want to rehash WWDC too much because we got our show out the night that it happened, and then there's been a whole week of news about it since then. And so folks have heard a lot about WWDC, but just in visionOS 26, there have been some changes, and I put this up in the show notes and asked the group, if there are certain things that you want to comment on this, that's great. And then we'll get to the news and then some apps and spatial widgets. Who of you have tried spatial widgets? Eric?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So I did more playing with spatial widgets, and keeping in mind it's a beta, and I don't recommend installing the beta if you want everything working smoothly. Spatial widgets are really enjoyable. They're really nice. They do right now seem to have a problem if you get too close to them. Or approach them from slightly the wrong angle, then they disappear or reappear. So there's some fine tuning that they're going to need to work on over the next couple months. But very neat, especially things like panoramic image, where you can slap it up in a frame on the wall and walk by, and it's like having a window.
So
For basement rooms, it's awesome.
So how do you, just for listeners or for viewers, can you give a little rundown on how you find them and how do you put them up?
There is a new app. So when you first install the beta, it adds a set of additional apps. And so if you have a lot of apps, you're going to scroll through a bunch of pages to get to the last one where they drop it in, launch the widget app, and then it gives you lots of categories. So you could do photos, you can do weather, you can do, I'm trying to think of what the other ones are. But basically a bunch of different ones. The one I was most interested in was clocks and photos. Clocks, I put two different widgets, one for an analog clock because I liked having the old style analog clock going around, but also digital because I don't want to think and I want seconds that are visible. So between the two, that gives me that, and then a bunch of images. I will say you probably don't want to add hundreds of widgets because then things start to slow down. It doesn't, just trying to keep track of them, it doesn't seem to have a problem. Like you can put widgets up in different rooms and have different widgets in different rooms. And when you leave one room and go to the other one, it doesn't have to actively be doing anything with the widget you left behind. It just keeps track of where it is. When you come back, then it pops back up again.
Yeah. David, have you done anything with them?
Yeah, I did it last week when I first installed it. Haven't done
Mhm.
as much, so I've been wanting to. It's just been a little crazy work. So but I did find that the weather widget was really cool, and I like the way it's got the kind of 3-dimensional view to it, so it just fits right on your wall. So when you've got all your apps out open on the open, you've got the. And I just now activated my auto scan here. Bring my hands up. So what it does is it's kind of cool because it'll fit within your apps grid, and now we can put it in folders. You can make that grid a little smaller, so you can now have it in a way that it is really cool. And you're really setting up your the widgets on the wall per se when you're in your room. But it is really cool, and I want to play. I got to play some more with it.
So, I was reading the Six Colors article by Jason Snell, and it was, and we'll talk about that later, but there's one point in it where he talks about how you can open up windows. He doesn't say widgets, but you can open up windows and leave them there, shut down the device, and when you open it back up, the windows are still there. Is that the case? Because I've asked that about apps, and people are like, no, you can't. And then I see Jason Snell mentioning it, and I thought I had heard that from the beginning that there's some permanence to the windows. So figure that out for our listeners if you have.
Yeah.
If you crash hard enough or run out of power, there are like a couple of cases where it loses things, but just a reboot doesn't seem to be enough to do it. Certainly, if you put it down, let it go to sleep, and wake it back up, that for sure is just fine. And you can hang stuff up in one window, go to another room, and hang stuff up, and it'll remember. So you can have a setup like in a basement office, a, a setup in a living room, and a setup in like another kitchen or something, and all of those setups will be remembered. And when you walk into the room, it all kind of activates and comes back.
So let me be a little more specific on that. If I open a Safari browser and leave it in my living room, if I leave that room or if I shut the device down at that point and I turn it back on, will the Safari browser be open in that room?
I haven't tried it with Safari yet.
Well, but I mean, I want to differentiate between Windows and widgets. What have you tried
Yeah.
it with that wouldn't be a widget?
Isn't it the same thing? Oh, no. You're thinking like you just open up a regular Safari window? That's
Yeah.
not the same.
Okay.
Widgets are special case, and it's widgets. It's a window that you can lock to the wall, and that's when it stays in place. You can't take a browser window and lock it to a wall, at least not that I know of. So
Right.
that's different.
Yeah. Dave?
And just to be clear on the widgets, it's not really an app, right? It's added into the home view, so you have to add the widgets from that home view. So you don't technically have an app for it, right? Because I got confused when you said that. I thought you said that earlier. And there's just a plus button, then you go and to add it from the left sidebar to do it, right?
Yeah.
Yes, although in my case, the thing I launched to get to that was like in my last screen. It was not on the home screen,
Okay.
which is why I was assuming it's just an app that, a new app they added.
Yeah, I don't think it is. That's why I just checked that. I'm not sure. I'm trying to
Oh.
correct you, but
Well, no, because I didn't spend time asking questions about it. I just know
yeah.
that I spent 2 days looking for it and didn't find it, but that's because I have like 50 apps amongst 6 or 7 different screens,
Mhm.
and it turned out it was on the last one. But
Right.
yes, as you said, once you launch it, yes, you get a sidebar of all of the different choices. And when you click on one on the right hand side, like say clocks, on the right hand side, you get a row of clock options or with pictures or photos, you get a row of different types of photos, which might be stills, it might be immersive, whatever. And you pick that, and then you hold it over near a wall, and then it kind of switches to be parallel to the wall, and then you can move it closer and it sticks like it's mounted or hanging a picture.
So this is dependent essentially on the wireframe of your open space.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And so far, I haven't been able to get it to work with glass.
What do you mean with glass? Oh, you mean
I can't stick one of these to glass. I've only been able to stick it to like a regular wall. And I don't know if it's my particular glass or if it just has a problem figuring out where it is.
Oh, so if you have a room with you have a physical room, a real room in your house, and like in my main room, we have a large window that looks out to our front yard and the cul-de-sac, and I wouldn't be able to stick anything on that necessarily because there's a challenge in it determining the wireframe, is what you're saying?
I'm
You said you
guessing,
can't
and
do it
that
on
might
glass.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what the reason is, or if it's just my particular glass it's not happy with. I haven't gone anywhere to try it on different kinds of glass. If you can find a solid area nearby, maybe that's enough to do it.
Well, this has encouraged me to go play with it more, and because clocks are one thing, but if I can have my Omni app doing that, that's kind of more important to me in terms of here's my workspace, here's my play space. But I do want to check out some of the things you said in terms of can you attach it to a glass window, or if that's part of your space. So I'll do that. Play with it tomorrow and try and get my own experience with it. So I'll talk about that maybe next time.
And
Any other?
you can
Yeah.
change the depth of the frame too. And if you make the frame depth wider, then it looks like a portal.
Yeah.
So, if you pick a picture that is, I don't know, a starship, and slap it in there and then have the extra depth and put it up just right in a nice wide picture, it really does make it look like you have a ship right outside your office.
That's
in
cool.
Space.
Other things that you might have played with this week that you have some added information on or added experience with.
I did mess around a little bit with the spatial experiences. It is really cool. I didn't take too many of the videos of my own just yet, but going into the spatial area where a lot of people are posting stuff, and I just found that to be just absolutely fascinating. The way that the videos just really just jump out at you, even in 2D and 3D. With this update now compared to what they did previous, that I think it's just an amazing open room for some great creativity from everybody out there, putting it out on the public space as well as for yourself when you're recording things. I'm surprised that Eric hasn't done it yet, especially with all the birds and nature that you film. Honestly, that you could get some pretty amazing experiences on that too.
Soon.
Yeah.
So you're talking about a particular app that is kind of a public virtual spatial sharing app.
Yeah, in Apple, I believe there is one that in I think is it in the Photos app or I can't remember, where you can go to spatial, or if it's a dedicated app. I can't remember, but I thought there was a place that you actually could post videos publicly.
And I've played around with a couple of those apps. I can't remember what they are. Moon Player is, I don't know if that allows you to post stuff to it.
I can't put the Vision Pro on and look as I go here.
Well, you could.
Yeah, we're gonna have
I could, but I guess I could.
Go ahead.
But we're here to talk, not be looking
all
at
right.
Vision Pro.
So personas. Let's hit that one.
Yeah. I'm not a fan.
David,
I'm still not a fan.
you're still not a fan. What
I
would
think it looks
make
okay the way I look when I did mine. It was a better experience setting it up. The first and the older versions of OS, Vision OS, it was a pain in the wazoo to get that thing set up. And having that dbrand thing on there, yeah, I know you've had to take it off, and I'm tempted to take it off now. Just I don't know, it seems like it gets in the way with the things sometimes, but I'm holding out. I do like the way it looks. It's cool, but yeah, that part of it was a little challenging, but before it's better, and I probably could go do it again and try to create an even better one. But compared to what the previous, I look a little better. I'll give you that. But I just don't know if I want to really use it. When you're in a Teams meeting or Zoom meeting, I wish if I could get Teams to work in my work environment, I would love to just freak people out when I join the meeting. Just like, what the hell you look like?
Well, what would you like to see that would make it better?
I'd like to see it just a little more lifelike. I mean, I think it still kind of makes you, drab. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, it's better. I'll give you that. It is improved. So I can't complain versus what it was. So.
Yeah, I compared, and we shared these back and forth to each other.
Yeah.
And I've seen some other comparisons the same between the Persona 1 or 1.1 version B or whatever you want to call it, because they've done 2 renditions before this one.
Yeah.
And it was, definitely better than the first rendition. I think markedly better than the second rendition. Because when I go back to the second rendition, my previous Persona, it's sort of like somebody smeared Vaseline on the lens.
Exactly.
And that is, I'm ready for my close up, Mr. DeVille. That's kind of nice if you're a person with aging, because in the Persona 1.B or 1.2 version, whatever you want, I don't have any wrinkles, and my face doesn't have any different changes in coloration that happen with aging. Now, you can't quite make out my eyebrows, and you definitely can't make out my eyelashes.
Yeah.
But there's something nicer about that 1.2 version of Persona for those that don't want a lot of detail in there. And I'll tell you that I do like the realism of the 2.0, but the realism comes closer to what I look like in real life. And you get the wrinkles and you get the shades and you get all that kind of stuff. So that to me is different. Eric, I don't know. I've seen yours and I think you look remarkably better with your version.
It's much improved. I think I forgot to send I'll send one to you, Dave, at some point.
Yeah, please.
There's a lot more detail. It always bothered me that you only got the front part of the glasses with no earpieces, because I kept wanting to like hold my hand up, and yeah, it was bad. The original version, it really was like they were covering up for not having enough resolution by blurring it, and it was like you weren't quite materialized yet. Something had gone horribly wrong in the transporter, and you're going to be stuck there until they can finish, bringing you completely back. The new one, I feel a lot more solid. I really wish they would fix the problem with Teams so that it actually worked. Not
Have
too
you
bad
used
in
Teams?
Zoom, and it works okay with messages.
I'm sorry. Have you used Teams with Vision Pro?
I can't authenticate in Teams
Exactly.
with the
Same
Vision
here.
Pro.
Same
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering about that when you said it. You'd like to get Teams to work.
Yeah. That's a corporate thing. Getting it to work.
All right. Is there other things that you want to talk about? I see a note here about screen sharing on the Vision Pro.
Yeah, that was from me.
Okay.
And it's kind of a little bit of a tease. I wanted to talk a little bit about, because that's what my MacStock presentation is going to be about, screen sharing. And one of the things that I'd like to hit on is Vision Pro. I haven't done it overly successfully yet, and the way you share it is through the AirPlay receiver, and you can mirror it right from the control center through Vision Pro. And it does give you the ability to be able to share what you're seeing on a screen, whether more or less be like on a TV when you would share it through on your Apple TV, or I believe you can share it on your Mac too. If not, and I just wanted to see if you guys have done any experimenting and playing with this, because I mean, I think not only for me being the geek and wanting to do it just to do it and to demonstrate it, has it been any? Have there been any practical uses with it with you guys when trying to do this?
I have done sharing screens to the iPad.
The iPad, okay.
That has been the most useful. Because
Okay.
I'll be looking at something, and if you've got an iPad and you're sitting at a table talking to people,
Mhm.
you can hold your iPad out and say, "Hey, look at this."
Okay.
But if you're in the Vision Pro and you got something that looks really cool, you can't take it off and slap it on their eyeballs. That doesn't work. But
Right.
what you can do is you can share it to your iPad, and then taking care not to move your head too much,
Sure.
everybody can then see what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Including apps. I haven't tried it. That's why I'm just. I thought
Um,
this would be a good topic to
If
just
you're
kind of
running
look at.
the app, if you're running the app in it, you should be able to do it. I mean, when I
Okay.
did early presentations on this to Mac user groups,
Oh, okay.
Eric was right. You got to keep your head still, and they're
Yeah.
going to
Don't be
go.
going like this.
They're going to
yeah.
go. Is it that shaky in real time? And I kind of have to
Or
remind them of the auto correction our brains do. So when my head moves, my world doesn't shake around me because my brain autocorrects for it. But if you're watching a video of my movie coming from my Vision Pro, it's going to look
Mhm.
shakier because you're in the audience and your brain is not responding kinesthetically to the movement of your head like mine is.
Yeah.
So that
yeah.
might be how it actually looks, but my brain reprocesses that into smooth movement.
Mm.
So it's always been whenever I've done, and doing it, I think through, um, how did I used to sign in with my Vision Pro on one computer and then sign in on another computer into Zoom and use that computer to be able to do the display for
Mm,
the presentation that I was giving. And one poor group,
ah,
I suffered and waited for 30 minutes to 40 minutes while I was trying to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah.
But I got it to
That's what I
work.
don't want to happen at
Yeah.
MacStock.
Well, yeah, I know.
yeah. I would
Yeah.
suggest, once you get it working, and one of the reasons why I like going to the iPad is actually record a session first, so you have a
Hmm.
backup.
Or even record it
Uh,
and then show it later. We could do that too.
yeah, yep. The only time I've had an issue is when I was trying to do the virtual Mac display and share that. Um,
Yeah, I don't think you could do that.
I got it to work for like a couple of seconds, but
Mm.
I don't think it either isn't supposed to work or it needs a
Right.
lot more bandwidth than I have network available.
Sure.
Um, but so far that's worked pretty well. And then the other thing to try is, if you have something interesting on the iPad, send the iPad screen to the Vision Pro.
Oh, okay.
And that's surprisingly interesting, because it's like sending it to a TV, but it's a TV in front of your eyeballs. And
Right.
it is, I have to say, a little more difficult if you want to continue writing on the iPad while you're looking at a screen or section of the screen on the
Of
Vision
course.
Pro. That's more of a challenge, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Makes
an
sense.
interesting concept.
if you really want to push this, and
which I want to. I'm
you know
probably
how-
not going to demonstrate what we're talking about here. I thought this would just be a good discussion to
Yeah.
see where the future is with this.
Yeah, I'd rather see you do the team sort of, where we're both looking at the same object. And then sharing that in some way. Getting Roger to, screen share it or pull it off whatever device, you're using it. But
Yeah, that's
very
going to be a
cool.
little too many moving parts.
I know,
And you
but that's big
I know.
risks. You get big rewards.
Just no. I want my presentation to go smoothly.
Yeah,
So it's mostly keynote, and
Yep.
I'll probably record some videos. But I mean,
Yeah.
the same thing. If you wanted to watch a video on your Vision Pro and then want to share it somewhere, I don't think you can. Can you do that? I mean, I don't think the immersive videos. I don't think you can do that, or I haven't tried it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, anything that's protected, you're going to hit a problem because you'll just end up
That's
with a
true.
black screen.
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
But if
is
you have your
a
own
problem.
videos, you can get that.
Yeah,
torque.
that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a problem we ran into last
Right.
year doing the demos. Lots of black
Right.
screens.
Makes sense.
Any other experiences with this before we move into the news?
Yeah. No, I'm good. Thanks for letting me jump in with that.
Yeah, I mentioned pre-show. I'm going to try. I think I've gotten kind of motivated to get my 360 camera out again and see if we can record some shows that way. I think the big issue is going to be bandwidth, but obviously at the site. But some of this stuff you're just going to have to show up the day before and figure out whether or not you got the bandwidth to do what you want to do, and find some backup for it. So, but I'm going to try and I think it would be fun to do some 360 videos and then be able to share
Yeah.
them and see how they turn out in the headset. I mean, we could actually do that in the headset.
That could be kind of cool. Have you done much with creating the 3D depth images from 2D photos
Yeah.
in the new OS? Because
Not in the new OS.
they seem to have stretched the depth a lot.
Yeah.
And have you played with doing it on the phone?
Oh,
where
yeah.
when you turn the phone, there's extra depth, even though it's just 2D.
Yeah.
They basically pull the layers so far apart that when you move, the bird shifts around or whatever. That looks interesting when you then look at it in the Vision Pro. Like there's more separation and more depth. And I haven't totally figured out, are there two versions of that, or did they just give it more separation to make it emphasized more?
I don't know. Well, you've got to wonder that because, with the new homepage or, your lock page, your lock screen,
Yeah.
it allows you to, as you get information, it changes it. So my dog's head goes down a little bit to fit the time in or to fit other information that comes in. So it almost feels like it's layers than anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah, it reminds me of it used to be you could take 2 or 3 slides and stack them with, you take a picture of like a tree branch and a picture of somebody standing and a picture of an umbrella, and you stack all 3 together, and then you would get extra depth looking at them. Sort of reminds me of that, but
Yeah.
oh.
Have
So
you
a lot
spent
more
any time?
possibilities.
Have you spent any time on Jupiter?
I haven't tried it
Is
yet.
Jupiter, is that available yet? I didn't think that was
I thought
out.
it was.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I thought it was too. Yeah.
Oh, I'll need to go back and look then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look either.
Okay, so let's take a look at news from this week, and we'll switch gears a little bit. I mentioned earlier on, we've got a set of articles that are kind of connected to Persona and the new Personas and reviews of it. And I mentioned this one by Jason Snell of Six Colors, but it's more than just a review of personas. It goes into a lot of other things, the widgets and other things that are really complementary of the Vision Pro in a lot of ways. Spatial browsing in Safari, um, and all sorts of things. So it is an article worth reading, very nicely done by Jason Snell.
Mhm.
And I don't know if you had a chance to look at that, but I would recommend it coming from Six Colors. Of course, these links will be in the show notes, so you'll be able to see them in the show notes and get links to the articles that we're talking about. A couple of, we've got two articles that are about my virtual avatar no longer looks terrible in the Apple Vision Pro. This is a Wired article, and it talks about a lot of the changes and updates. Of course, it gives you the price of the headset, but it does speak to the personas and how they have changed in a way to look at them. And then this one came out of 9to5Mac, showing the difference between the new and the old personas and how they look and how they interact. It now has 1,000 choices of glasses, variations of glasses. And the funny thing is, I never put my glasses, when I do it, I take my glasses off. So I have this sunken basset hound look to my eyes that comes out in my persona. But I think the first time I tried to create one, I put my glasses on, and I didn't like the fact that it didn't have stems on the side. And just haven't created personas with glasses on since then. But I think kind of my favorite, I don't know if you spent any time with this YouTube channel, but Adam Savage of Mythbusters meets with a reporter, and apparently he has a Vision Pro headset, has never put on a developer beta on it. And he said this was enough to get me to try it, to put the developer beta on it, because he's like, no, beta, no, no, no. But it's kind of a fun 30-minute video, and I'll run it. Maybe I'll take the sound out for a little bit so folks can see this. But it shows them kind of working with the new personas. And I'm going to skip through this. There it is. So you get to see Adam Savage with his new persona, with what he says, all the flaws of his face and such. And he was just really impressed with it in terms of the process.
Well, it was impressive too, because you get the full side of the face, and the scan that you have to do, the movements to do the scan are the same as the movements were before. But before it stopped, really close to the front of your face, and you had kind of like a mask that was floating. Now it really does do the whole side of the head as well.
Yeah, the previous kind of looked like Shroud of Turin. Your face was kind of stretched, or I can't remember that evil character that was just Scarecrow. So yeah, there is some fun stuff in this video. It is a 30-minute video that goes into sharing and different things that you can do. You can see they're building wireframes. So it's worth the watch. And again, we will have the link in the show notes for that, for those of you who want to go back and watch that video. And maybe we're a Mythbusters fan at one time. So yeah. Native apps. This was an article that we probably saw coming. And this was about Apple continues lack of native apps on Vision Pro. It isn't a good sign for the platform. And this is Wesley Hilliard, whose name I remember from other critical articles about the Vision Pro.
Well, he is a fan of the Vision Pro.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he does use it.
So, what's your take on no native apps?
Well, I'm a little disheartened about the whole thing. I'm you got to wonder, like he says in the article, why, if Apple's not doing this, then do you kind of have to wonder where is this going? You know, I know people are going to take that kind of judgment in place, and you know, you got a whole long laundry list. You know, all the iWork apps and books and all kinds of other apps that are omitted. I mean, I can't imagine you're going to use something like Final Cut Pro on a Vision Pro or something like that, or even you know, even any of those kind of creative apps, because that's going to be pretty tough. That I couldn't understand why they want to even attempt to have that app available. But yeah, but the core apps like Pages, Numbers, and Keynote maybe, Keynote for sure. I would think that would be an ideal use on Vision Pro. I don't know about Numbers. I don't know if they're doing spreadsheets. Although Excel is available on the Vision Pro, so you know, you kind of wonder, do you want to do a spreadsheet or not? And then Word on Microsoft too. So
Yeah, and it's the one Microsoft app that actually has some dimensionality to it. So you can create, you now have X, Y, and Z in terms of developing it within the Vision Pro. I don't know. There are people right now who are doing Final Cut Pro by doing the screen from their MacBook and editing it that way within it. So I don't think video editing is too far off.
yeah, that's true.
It's not native in terms of the environment. It's always taking it off what's running on your MacBook. However, there was that announcement. I'm really curious about this. I want to see what that Adobe video editing app is going to be like. That is supposed to be for the platform, not something that you're going to mirror through your MacBook, which again, you could already do if you wanted to.
Sure.
But that's not coming out till the fall, I think was the latest on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd have to say, realistically, if I'm doing video editing, I almost prefer it be on the Mac using the Vision Pro as a screen, because I like to be able to plug a drive in to have lots of space, and there's not a good way to do that on the Vision Pro, at least not yet. So and it works really, really well as a large virtual display where you can actually see each frame in the timeline. It's a really nice experience.
And you can't do
So
rudimentary kind of editing through photos of videos or anything like that.
so photos right now is kind of my pet peeve. I was really irritated before the beta, because there really was not much of anything you could do other than see an image. It was difficult to even get information about an image. In the beta, they've updated photos, changed the interface a little bit, so that you can get additional information. If you look at an image of a plant, you can see its guess on what the plant actually is. But yes, editing is not high on their list of things that you can do a lot with, other than make it 3D if it wasn't. So I guess I'm less worried about, hey, do we have native apps, and more about, if we have a native app, is it complete? So I'd rather they put a little more time into photos and let you do like one or two additional things in photos than try to bring more apps over. I will say with the interface changes across Mac OS and iOS and whatnot, then if you share a screen, it looks a lot more like it's just running. So
Yeah, I really want a version of whatever native apps they bring over to actually use the dimensionality of the environment. I mean, we've got enough iPad apps that run 2 dimensions and really
Mhm.
just are running on Vision Pro. If you are the person developing this platform and you have native apps, your native apps should be doing something different on Vision OS than they are, or there should be different capabilities on Vision OS than they are on iPad or Mac OS with that. So maybe that's why we haven't seen it. Maybe it's because they're listening to me too much and I'm setting the bar too high. Um, that it's got to be a little bit different than that. This one I thought was just wacky. And it comes from 9 to 5 Mac, hinting at a tethered headset. Do you think this thing will ever get tethered?
Yeah.
I just don't understand why they would do that.
well, I could see that if you were a developer and you didn't want to wait for the data to move back and forth as you're developing something, yeah, then a tethered strap. I could even see it being something like an updated version of the developer strap that lets you transfer files at a much higher rate.
So
I'm not
finally you
sure.
could get those 3D videos on there easily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to see the ability to transfer files that way.
I mean, I would rather have even faster wireless, but being able to have a bunch of data sitting on my Mac that when I wanted to transfer it, I could quickly get it onto the Vision Pro. To me, that's more valuable as opposed to having to buy a whole pile of terabyte Vision Pros to store everything. Let me use a much lower capacity Vision Pro, but quickly move stuff onto it.
Yep.
Dave, any
So,
ideas on this?
Yeah, I don't know. To tether another headset, I think the Vision Pro is too new for this. I don't know if this is something that's going to come quickly. And they keep talking about rumors there's going to be another headset, maybe a lower price headset, maybe all these other things they've been talking about. Well, I don't know if they really are going to want to do this.
Yeah. Well, it's rumors. Um, Bloomberg Bloomberg
Good one.
gets a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot more clicks when somebody talks about 2 headsets that might or might not happen.
Yeah.
2 new headsets that might or might not happen. I think, I want to start this rumor. They're going to drop the price to $550.
Yeah. Right.
Now if he can just keep pushing that out, we'll get many
Sure.
more clicks. And it's reliable. It's reliable.
Yeah.
Uh,
Good luck with that.
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so two articles kind of paired together. It's this whole idea of, and Eric, this dives pretty deeply into cameras and sources, but the idea that maybe I'll go to the second one first. Vision Pro's first third-party Apple Immersive video brings MotoGP racing via Blackmagic. So this
Did
was.
you watch the video that came with this?
Tell me about it.
So you get to watch this guy. Like you're really excited. Like you're gonna be able to see maybe a clip where they're showing immersive video somehow from a bike, and I was all in. I thought this is going to be great. And you see this guy puts the Vision Pro on and he looks and it's like, oh my God, this is so good. And that's it. The guy
He
is
puts the
really
headset on.
impressed. The guy is really impressed. He gets to see it,
Oh,
and then says something about September.
so
So
you
in
get to see.
September we can come back to this, and then we get to see what he saw. It's not here yet,
Yeah.
but I am
Plus,
really looking forward to it.
it looks like it's all in French too.
Yeah, that's that last comment in September 2025.
Oh yeah, yeah. So basically, you get to see him
Be
get
really
really excited
excited.
about it. I mean, you could walk into the Apple store and watch somebody doing their first demo, and you'd probably get some of the same, nonverbals or
Yeah,
verbals
but
coming out of them.
this looked good. Like he was really impressed, and he's seen it in real life, and yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to this.
I'll tell you what kept me from clicking on that link, that it was Watch on X, and I've kind of
Yeah.
I'm not doing X anymore.
But
And I don't.
It'll play in a window without having to log in or go, because I don't even have an account anymore.
Oh.
Watch it from an iPad so you're protected. Or
Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. I can
you can show it now.
show it now. Yeah. Save everybody the trouble of having to go to X.
There he is. There he is. Getting ready. It's like, oh my gosh, look at this. Oh, stunning. It's just stunning. The realism. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's everything. It's everything you could want. You're gonna be so impressed in September.
You're good at that.
Do I ruin it by turning off the volume on it?
No, because it's all in French. And basically he's talking about how great and wonderful it is and how in September we'll see it. He's very impressed with the Vision Pro.
He's using a Belkin strap. We got to give him that kind of credit.
Yeah.
So, is it a Belkin, or is it just is it the dual strap?
That's the dual loop one.
That's the dual loop one. Okay. Well, boy, I can't get that time back. But we've probably saved other people the opportunity. Okay, so anyways, we've got this article.
We'll come back to it in September. It'll be worth it.
By then, we'll all be able to learn French. But it's also connected to this article on Canal Plus app. It's a major player in the tech industry, is unveiling new features for its application, the Canal Plus app. And apparently this was what was used in some of the production of this, because it cross-ref in this article. Yeah, produced in collaboration with Apple and MotoGP, competition organized by Dorna. This new documentary event is the first Apple Immersive video produced and filmed with the new Blackmagic URSA Sin Immersive camera. Canal X app for Vision Pro has been available since its launch last year, offering subscribers a unique experience for accessing its library of premium content. With this new documentary, Canal X subscribers will be able to follow Johan Zarco, the French MotoGP racer, and his team through the historic victory of the French Grand Prix, as if they were right there. So some cross referencing there between those two.
I just hope we'll be able to see it, because if I remember right, reading through all this stuff, if you're in France, you can see it. It's just there, but I'm not sure, what the charge will be or availability outside of France. I'm still
So
excited.
yeah, so maybe we should download the Canal Plus app to
I
see
think it's
what.
like downloading the BBC app. That like there's one version for in Britain and a different one if you're not.
But
Maybe we
apparently
can
it
play
has
with
a.
VPNs.
Yeah, apparently it has. Oh, I'd have to set up a VPN for France. That would be fun. Um, uh,
Or you have to take
so
a
yeah,
flight.
we'll have to. I might try to download the Canal Plus app and see if there is any immersive video um, that you can get into, because they have hours of live content available on that through the app. So, all right. PS2, PSVR2 Sense controllers. We do have an article on that. And for those of you who are interested in the gaming piece, Daniel isn't with us tonight. But this talks about being able to set these things up on your Vision Pro and getting developers to buy into using those handheld game controllers to be able to develop for that. And they give a mention to Sneaky Sasquatch, Eric.
I love that game.
Excellent.
One of your favorite
It's still
games.
good. Yeah, everyone should try it.
Okay, so Sense controllers that are complete. And then the last one before we get into some of the apps is the idea that there was of course, somebody goes through all this code and finds a mention of Vision Pro 4K within the code as the device was named. And in the simulator can now for the first time output in 4K, but the old version is still there. Why? A third, more fantastical possibility is that Apple has kept the non 4K mode around because it will be used in future for a new Vision Pro model with a lower resolution. So lots of speculation on this. This is coming out of Macworld. Guys, are you surprised to see this, or are you surprised to see if this is possible? Are you surprised to see it, or are you surprised that people are already speculating on it?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, go.
I'm not surprised. But people read into these things all the time. You look in code all the time and you think, oh, this is going to happen. But Apple's trying it out. They're having developers take a look at it. Apple's looking at it from behind the scenes, just like when they talked about Apple Intelligence, all the stuff they're seeing that this is here and that this is going to happen. And all the rumors have come. And I know these eagle-eyed people like to go through the code and see what might be happening. And sometimes it doesn't happen. So, I mean, I know everybody wants to have a lower priced Vision Pro. I think it will get there eventually, but like Apple does a lot of times, they just take their time on things, and people get impatient. I mean, look at Apple Intelligence.
Yep.
Like I said, I mentioned that again. Apple Intelligence. And you saw everybody went nuts on that, and even more so that John Gruber couldn't even get the Craig and Jaws to come on the show. So. But it was even better with Joanna Stern and Nihal Patel. So, but anyway,
Yeah.
I digress. But yeah, that's a thing. It's just the way it goes with Apple.
Well, here's another prediction besides the $550 Vision Pro that I predicted.
You're dreaming.
The prediction that I have is because I've read Xcode, and if you
Yeah.
look at it, my birthday, the numbers that represent my birthday are in that code. So I'm going to say that this new Vision Pro Lite, or whatever you want to call it, will be released and announced on my birthday, which will still put it into the Christmas market. So
Yeah.
that's what the code is telling me.
Huh.
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's get to apps and close out the show. These we've been sitting on for a while, and I just want to be able to. And this is all clock related. I think all of these are clock related apps.
Mhm.
So, oh, well, no, there's two clock related apps, and then there's this story of polio. Like it hasn't been a hard enough week already. We've got the story of polio. So this clock app, the MD clock, is spatial clock. You can put it up in your environment. Is this kind of Sherlocked because now we're able to do it with widgets and we don't need a special clock app anymore?
Kind of.
I mean, how pretty does the time have to be for you to read it?
I mean, the MD clock was useful because there wasn't a good clock app.
Yeah.
So once the new OS is released and you've got a widget, I think it will be hard to, unless there's some other reason, it'll be hard to have a clock app that's not just a widget.
Yep.
Yeah, you add steampunk, okay, maybe we're talking, but
Mhm.
Then let's look at the other one. Very nice clock apps, and for $3.99. And there are in-app purchases that you can get with this by going premium for $4.99.
It's only a
So
buck.
again, yeah, it's only $1. Go premium. You only live once. Might as well have
Support
the
the
clock.
developer.
Might as well have the
Support the
very
developer.
nice clock that you want. Yeah, support the developer. God bless these folks. They're doing the work that keeps the product line going, and they do it out of love. Not sure they're doing it out of making a lot of money, but they are doing it out of love. So yeah, so there are some things in here like countdown timers, stopwatches.
Mhm.
Do any of you
Yeah.
use the Pomodoro technique for work, or have you ever tried it?
Mm-mm. No.
I found it really helpful when I used it. It basically
Hmm.
kept me from being distracted because I'm easily distracted by stuff. But it's sort of, you set a timer for 40 minutes and then you get 10 minutes off. You can change and vary that. I think it's like 25 minutes and then 10 minutes off.
Mhm.
And you get 3 cycles of that. And then after the third cycle, you get like 15 minutes or 20 minutes off. And then you go back into the cycle again. But the idea is that you're working on something during that 25 minutes. You're not checking your email. You're working on something that's on your list. And apparently this device has Pomodoro technique timers to boost your productivity. When I was feeling really overwhelmed and not feeling like I was getting a lot done in my life, but I had a lot to do, I switched to the Pomodoro technique and used a combination with, God, I can't remember the guy's name. He came to Macstock for a while, Dr. Mac or
Yeah.
And he for a long time he put out these books on how to
Oh,
kind of effectively use your Mac, but also effectively be productive with your Mac.
talking about that
And
Bob
he
Levitis?
Bob Levitas, yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Bob Levitas, and he had this simple thing. It's like just make a list, dummy, and have it on your table. Don't put it in an email. Don't stick it on your. And that was and I combined that with the Pomodoro technique, and it was the best thing for me to get work done. Of course, I strayed away from that, and I told a colleague of mine about it, and she started using it, like this is the greatest thing in the world. Um, Unfortunately, I didn't stick with the addiction of it, but this clock settings have these kinds of things with it. The very nice clocks. And Eric, I think this one's yours. Polio's
Um,
Last Mile.
yeah, it actually it turned out to be kind of interesting. So you get a set of videos. The idea is looking at techniques to get the last few people vaccinated that haven't been vaccinated against polio in areas where polio is still prevalent. So trying to figure out where there was an outbreak and then who's covered and who's not, and how to have somebody within the community that knows who people are, can talk to them to make sure that everyone's comfortable and you can accommodate schedules, and whether it's going to visit them wherever they are, or what, and then making sure that if you have an area you're trying to cover, it's easy to tell that somebody went and talked to them, by either a mark on the house or that combined with records keeping. So it was just kind of neat. And then there's some references to history and at different points what progress has been made, all done in kind of a wrapped together app. So you get some immersive depth, you get a feel for the area and the sounds, much easier than just reading a book that has half a page saying, yeah, we sent some people out. This is, much more interesting.
And this is part of the Global Polio Eradication Initiative. And again, the app is called Polio's Last Mile. Um, the Global Polio Eradication Initiative is Bill Gates is standing behind that and providing. I mean, there's videos of him talking
Yeah.
about the initiative. Here's what I find interesting. It's only available, at least this is only available on the Vision Pro. It's
Wow.
not on any other platform. So this thing was constructed for this platform and with the idea of using this platform, and it's got a video of Bill Gates. I
Oh
find
my
that a little,
gosh.
I find that a little fun, and it's free. So,
Yeah, it's got 5
um,
stars too.
yeah,
Yeah, it's well done.
yeah. Okay, guys. Anything else you want to say before we wrap?
Oh, just real quick, I just a shout out to Craig, who's is a listener, and we met him at the Apple user group. He took a screenshot of his experience watching our show tonight in the Vision Pro, and he said the spatial video is just looking pretty phenomenal. And he said even more improved is the immersive audio too. So that's kind of a cool thing to hear about, and I thought I'd make sure
Yeah.
I
Wow.
share that with you guys.
Yeah.
To know someone's out there watching us on Vision Pro.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I particularly like producing the videos from this and then use because it's done through Ecamm. And I'll tell you the quality, I'm surprised that when it finally gets compressed and then uncompressed and winds up on YouTube, the quality of the videos I think are pretty remarkable through this platform. So I'm glad I'm glad we have a listener who's doing that and checking it out, and that's always fun. I wish I could listen. And I wish I could watch it on Vision Pro streamed at the same time I'm doing
Yeah,
it.
me too.
I think my head would.
I'd rather be here with you guys.
My head would explode probably.
Well, that too.
Which would be good video. I mean, it would be good. It would be probably get a lot of clicks to have my head explode. So let's talk briefly about MacStock. And MacStock is coming up July 11th, 12th, and 13th. It's going to be in Crystal Lake, very close to Woodstock, Illinois, north central Illinois, about 40 minutes outside of Chicago. I know Dave is presenting, and you're doing a presentation on screen capture.
Screen capturing across every platform you can think of.
Yeah. And I'm going to be doing something on AI, and then doing something with my son on travel gear. It's going to be sort of we're going to turn it into a little bit of what's that show with the three behind three curtains?
Let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal. Except there's going to be no deals.
We're just door number one, door number two, but door number three.
Three, yeah. We're going to have some. We're going to play it up like a little bit of a game show with different travel tech that's available for people who might be interested in, and give away some too. So it's a fun experience. We've had some listeners. Brian has been in listening to us tonight. And he's going to be presenting, I forget what Brian's going to be presenting on.
Sports related, of course.
Is it sports related?
Yes, I believe it. Oh, maybe not. I forgot.
No,
Brian, you're out there. Remind us. I forgot.
Yeah. So he's presenting, and I will find it, or maybe you guys can find it. Trying to get the schedule up. MacStock schedule.
We're 24 days away as we record this.
Yeah. That means I'm 22 days away from actually preparing my presentation.
Yeah, same here. I hope Mike is listening.
Well, yeah, you don't want to peak too soon.
Brian's going to talk about automation and shortcuts.
That's right.
Last year he did something that was really
he did
tremendous
sports last year.
On sports. And the
Streaming.
Apple app hadn't even been released yet, if I remember correctly. He kind of went to, here's other ways that you can get sports through streaming. So Brian was listening tonight. We appreciate that. And but MacStock Expo and MacStock Conference and Expo.com. The link will be in the show notes, but you can kind of look it up right now. MacStock Conference and Expo.com. $50 off with the code PodTalk50 if you want to register for the on-site experience. They also have a virtual experience, which means all of the programs will be recorded, and about 30 days out from the conference, you'll have access to some of those, to those streams so you can see the presentations. But at least go to the website and take a look at what the presenters are, what they're presenting on, and you'll see it's a pretty rich experience. And it's not a 300, 400 member conference as much as I'd love it to be, but what makes it nice is it's a good sized conference, so you get to meet everybody. And you get to have lunch with whoever you want to. And it's just really kind of a warm group of folks. So Dave's done it since the first one. And I've done it, I think, I've been there since the second one. And Eric, probably 4 or 5 years now about that. But once you go once, it's like there's no doubt you're coming back the next year. So that could be dangerous or it could be really fun. But MacStock Conference and Expo.com. Dave, where can we find you?
Well, thanks for having me as always. You can find me at InTouchWithIOS at InTouchWithIOS.com. YouTube channel, youtube.com/InTouchWithIOS. We do the show on Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, with these two gentlemen as our regular contributors and a cast of thousands. But glad to have you always on the show every week. And I'm over on the Mac Show in the British Network most Fridays, hanging out with those guys as well, including Marty sometimes, as well as you can find me on Mastodon and on Blue Sky at DaveG65. Thanks again, guys.
Yeah. Eric, anything you want to plug? Oh man, your pictures. You got to talk about your pictures. He is such a great photographer.
He is. And we don't get to see the backgrounds in this show.
Yeah, although it's been quiet the last, it was raining all last night. Today,
Yeah.
every time I went out, more rain. On Mastodon, EA Bolden at mas.to. It's sort of a mix of stuff, but I put sets of pictures out there and follow a bunch of people that post pictures. So even if you don't like my pictures, somebody else's are out there too. There's a lot. Otherwise, Monday here for visionOS, Tuesdays for macOS on Mac Voices, Thursday for our iOS, iPadOS, visionOS, and on In Touch with iOS. So yeah, it's each week is a fun week of all of the OSs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and each show is a little different because they take different focuses. By the end of the week, my brain is full with new information, and yeah,
wash, rinse, repeat.
yeah. Where is it? Eat, sleep, podcast, repeat. Is kind of a mantra that I use for podcasting. You can find me at Gencius, Gencius, at mastodon.social or Gencius again at bluesky.com. The stuff that I do in terms of podcasts other than this one and this one, you can find on the podtalk.net website. Tuesdays with Chuck on Mac Voices, Thursdays with Dave on In Touch with iOS. And other stuff that I do, like I just picked up my son from the airport. He's been gone for 7 weeks. And we do a podcast called Gear Up and Go about travel tech. So he's back in town and we've got to catch up, and where the show's going to be a little different because he's not stranded in a casino hotel for 7 weeks working and doing construction there. So it'll be fun to continue with that. He'll be coming to MacStock, as I mentioned. And then Old Mac Gang on Wednesdays, and Tech Savvy Professor on Thursdays, and occasionally every other week or so I do Circular Firing Squad, and then this show every week, which is kind of a fun way to kind of get through all of the new stuff that's with this product. So thank you for listening. Our bumper music is Free Jazzy by Steve Combs, courtesy of the Free Music Archive. Learn more about us and the Vision Profiles podcast at our website, thepodtalk.net. Spread the word to other visionaries. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.